Lisa.
But me.
How you doing?
Oh, I should know if anybody was here, Shorty's here. How you doing today? We missed you the other day. Oh Lord, how long this gonna be? I'm so tired.
Shouldn't be too long.
Oh, if everybody should look right. How you doing?
I'm all right. How about
Oh, one day at a time.
you? Family's okay?
Yeah, they just trying to find a large place to have this funeral like at,
Convention center,
or
Sherry said.
they're trying to do that or perhaps whichever one can
You know, you only
accommodate.
10,000 people trying to.
Yeah, he said he had about 300, pastors to call him that's coming from all over the globe.
No doubt.
Chicago, everywhere. It's a very popular name. So it's gonna be huge. So one of the church members was like, I don't think y'all need to take it out to church. I was like, I hate to tell you this, but
It'll be a
my
plus.
family alone can take up the rows, and it's a big church. We can take up the 3 rows, sir. And then you guys be angry. You've been at the church for 60 years. Some of these people, they can't get in because it's gonna be full to capacity. We have to move it, even though you don't want to move it. So they said they'll view on the 26th of July. They pushed it back that far. 26th of July, and they'll have their service on the 22nd. So that's where we're at right now. I was like, Lord, y'all pushed back so far. I was supposed to be in Jamaica that weekend. I had to cancel.
Oh, boy.
Yep. So there's so much going on.
Shorty, you got the word on Lisa's
Pastor.
uncle.
Hilltop Baptist Church. You ever heard of Hilltop? No. It's in Revere. It's the largest church in Revere.
Hilltop Baptist.
Hilltop Baptist Church, yeah. So he passed. So that he'll have a huge funeral. Yeah. So the lady said, one of the members working at the police department, she says, I've had 200 or 300 calls come in. I'm glad they were smart enough to do non-emergency, trying to contact the family. She said, I know what to tell them. I just told them the church address and the church phone number. They want to speak to your mother, and I was like, no, I can't give all y'all her phone number. So I said, yeah, it's gonna be huge. It'll probably be televised, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Media,
no doubt.
news media will be there.
No doubt.
Yeah. It almost seemed unreal. Just, people gonna pass, but still. It's been good to everybody. Fed people, clothed them, housed them. He taught, he encouraged them, he did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
In his 60 years, he preached.
I remember he used to petition to have those liens
That's right.
removed.
He fought. And somebody told him, you didn't stay out of politics. He said, no. But he had to do that to help the people. He told the people about the liens. He always, keep people abreast of what's going on. He did everything. He went downtown to the courthouse and stood. They like bring all that up, Yeah, so he did a lot. So everybody's like on the internet, like really blowing it up, going crazy. He baptized me. He's the first preacher that he preached when I was 12. Reverend Master said, so many people just have like he makes a general, he's an icon, a legend, everything. They have a lot of good things to say. I mean, he lived a good life, but everybody got something to say.
Icon.
Icon, they call him a legend, general. I've heard it all. Everything you can think of, they give him. He look like this
Yeah.
stuff. Turn his phone off.
Amazing, amazing man.
Yep. Turn it off.
You really thought I was gonna be late?
No, William called and said he was running behind, but he wouldn't be more than a couple minutes. Somebody else I'm kind of looking for.
Well, who's being right? It's an emergency. My husband said, you going? I said, yeah. Man, dead, gone. If it was my dad, it might be a little hard. It felt like my dad died, but I'm his. It was hard last week. I'm okay this week. We're doing the budget today. Hope y'all
Mhm.
added us in the budget.
Oh, there'll be some corrections to be made. I have no doubt about it. And then from about 3 o'clock on today, I've been locked in meetings, so I haven't had a chance to double, but it'll be pretty close.
Oh yeah, you're a busy man. My heart goes
It
out
was-
to you.
No, today was crazy. This
Wow.
afternoon got crazy.
I did put on in there, let the life out there and speak. Whatever life you live, you actually preach your own feeling every day you wake up. The way you live, you really don't have to preach a person's feeling. You really just should stand there and say, remember Joe Blow. Everybody have moments silent. Preach your own feeling. Every day you wake up, preach your own feeling. People don't have to open their mouth. Just think about the good or bad or whatever
That's
you've
right.
done.
That's right. I agree with that.
They left some wires down by where my mailbox was. I didn't mean to call you.
Wires down.
Yeah, there's a lot of little, I don't know where they come from or what they are attached to. But they just been down for a while.
Overhead
So the
or-
overheads come down. I don't know how they did that, cause FNL came and kind of pinned it together like a couple years back. But now the overhead's hanging, but some wires, I don't know if they cable wires or whatever, they are in the ground, they just sit there. And they have, those cones around it. And I'm just, are they gonna move them, or what are they just there for? So if you can get a chance to come by and just see them.
I'll go by and get us.
Yeah, just ask them, ask them like, what they plan to do with those wires? 'Cause I'm glad my grandbaby ain't outside yet.
Yeah.
But, look, she's still.
God, I hope they're not live.
Right, but I don't know why they would just leave them, they've been there a while, like, since they moved my mailbox. How you doing, young lady?
I'm good.
Pretty good.
Oh Lord, I left my water. Oh, y'all got some, for some reason your throat get real dry. I always used to grab my bottle of water. Now they got today. Shorty, you been all right? You been all right?
Yep,
One day at a time.
that's all you can do.
Yes, sir. And then some of them days you don't wanna do.
That's for sure. But, gotta keep on moving.
Yes. Body's a machine. You have to keep moving. So it won't shut down.
The older you get, the worse it gets. The quicker it happens.
Oh, yeah. Nothing in refrigerator?
When my big brother told me that, and I kinda just shrugged it off, you know. He said, well, you know,
Just keep living.
you're getting older, you'll find out.
Just keep living. How young are you?
Hmm?
How young are you?
How young am I?
Yeah.
81.
Really? You're a strong man. Wow. I'm 59. Strong man. God bless you. You know, that gonna have me run to the bathroom.
Well, they say, I don't know how true it is, but it's probably true. If you sit down, you're gonna die.
Yeah, it's true. I seen that happen to my neighbor. He worked on the job for 40 years. He retired. 6 months after, he was gone. He walked around the neighborhood every day. He walked like he was just lost. And I said, oh, I told him that's not good. I said, he don't know what to do with himself. See, if you're gonna retire, you have to have something else to do.
Something to do.
You cannot just sit. So he's sitting on his porch,
You can't just
quit.
quit,
That's
you know,
right.
retire and
That's
then
right.
just don't do nothing.
Yep, and he did that. Well, 6 months later, he was out of here. Cause he quit. I think the job pushed him out. You know, some jobs push you out. Like so many years. Some will let you work till you leave the earth, and some will tell you, time up. You know, maxed out. Mhm.
Yep. So I just keep moving.
That's the way to do it.
Well, when you get older and you sit around, you don't feel good.
Right.
You know, you,
I kind of gained all this weight because I started taking care of my mother, she 83. I started taking care of her, my grandbaby, and I found myself home like this. I used to be so skinny, about 3 years ago, I was so slim. Now I'm like, oh Lord, Jesus, I gotta get out this house. I gotta get out, I'm putting on too much weight. So,
well, that's what's happening to the kids. You know, they're on that computer, they don't go outside, they don't
Right.
play, they don't run around.
They don't know how to play games.
No,
They don't know how to create games. We had hopscotch and everything else.
jump rope, hide and go seek.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. We created
there's all kinds of stuff to do outside.
Mm-hmm.
Now they stay inside on
Play video games and computers.
Lee.
But I always kept my kids busy. Kept them in sports and dance groups. Kept football, basketball. They were in everything. All type of different dance. I just kept them busy because I figured to keep them out of trouble. And it worked. So my last son, he's just in Atlanta. He's just in Philly. He's going to Vegas this weekend with his travel team. So he's everywhere. I never let him sit home in the summer. Keep him going.
Gone.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, but most of them don't.
Hey, good evening.
You made it.
Yeah. No accidents. All right.
My heart goes out to you. On I-95, I used to do that drive. God knows, Lord.
Yeah.
It's horrendous.
All of these years.
It's horrendous.
Way down at Pembroke Pines or
I used
something.
to be at New York Life out west there, off 826,
Mm.
and coming back. That was a nightmare. I used to say, you know what?
Hey, hey.
7 o'clock, 6
How are you?
traffic over.
Yeah. Yeah.
I told him I couldn't do it. I moved to the guard's office. And that was a big mistake. Ever experienced racism. That was my first time.
Sometimes you go from what they say the
It
fire
was-
pit to the fire or something.
Man, it was great down there. It was a melting pot. Down there.
Hey, Sharita, how you doing?
Yeah.
Good.
It'll wear you out.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, how are you, Councilman?
Well, hey, how's it going?
Hey, I saw you getting out that car.
Yeah, I had to stretch a little
I
bit.
said, boy, you trying to act like you
Yeah.
old.
No, when you sit
Trying
in
to
that
act like
car.
you old.
Trying to act like you old.
It's that long drive.
Yeah. Get caught like that.
2 minutes after this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it'd be like. It took about an hour and 50 minutes to get here.
Mhm.
I feel sorry for you.
That is
I
rough.
know about that train.
That is rough.
Oh, my God. And when it stopped, it stopped.
Yeah.
But you be making it, you make it right on time, 1 minute.
Yeah, I called Ken and said, right after I hung up, I hear the emergency siren coming from behind. I was like, oh no. But fortunately, had moved the cars off, so they were able to kind of move to the thing, and we were able to kind of snake through. So I'm like,
Yeah, that's good.
alrighty.
Thank God for traveling mercy.
Oh,
Amen.
yes. Absolutely.
I don't know if you ever got caught on Australia when that commercial train comes through, they back and forth and back and forth and back.
Oh, you get caught, oh, you got caught with it?
I said, okay, then, but today wasn't as bad, I did get past without it going 4 times, 5 times, 6 times back and forth.
Yeah.
But the other day,
Don't try to come over the hill. I tried to smash over almost 8th Street, Martin Luther King.
Okay. Everybody all ready? Is that ready? Technically, we're ready as well. Okay. All right, then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so at this point in time, we're going to call the Town of Mangonia Park General and Utility Fund Budget Workshop of July 8th, 2025 in the session. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Davis Quince,
Here.
Councilmember McConnell,
Here,
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Here.
and Mayor Alberry.
Here. Thank you so much. We do have a quorum. So at this time, we're going to turn the floor over to our town manager for some presentations.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members, thank you for your time. I'll try to be brief, and hopefully you won't hear me talk very much tonight. Maybe I'll get feedback from you and answer any questions that you may have. Takedra has prepared a packet for you, and in the packet you will have something that says proposed water and sewer rates. So we've been through this a couple of times. I'm not going to read this line for line. If you're looking at it tonight and you have a question, just answer up. The main thing I want to hit tonight are the numbers, the current year numbers, as opposed to what we're thinking for next budget year. And we're going to tackle, for the most part, the utility fund tonight. That's where I want to concentrate, because when we're talking about utility rates, that has a, this has a very direct tie-in to the budget, obviously. So what I'm hoping to get, if not tonight, maybe right after the workshop next Tuesday, which will be following our regular council member, is the go-ahead for the water and sewer rates, maybe with your tweaks and your direction. So what we're talking about is raising rates, base rate and consumption rates for every level except for residential. Now, residential would see a slight increase on the base rate for water and sewer, but not on the consumption. And we've also added a category this year. We have split industrial out of commercial and made it its own category. So
Okay,
that's the basis of it. Yes,
okay,
sir.
I'll take just a moment to acknowledge that Councilwoman Webb has it on the dais. Okay, feel free to go.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. So that's the gist of it. I'd love to hear your feedback. Like I said, we've presented this a couple of times. Obviously, the bills from Riviera Beach do not get any cheaper. We're still having what I'd call positive conversations there. We're also having positive conversations with the city of West Palm Beach. Where we're at with West Palm Beach, they have completed a rate study, and what their legal team is preparing is a document for town council to look at and for legal to look at. So hopefully we'll have something in front of you this summer that primarily deals with water, but there's also the sewer component in there as well. And the water part of it came up as we were talking to this previous group about the Highlight property and the need to get immediate increased water over there. So we've had productive conversations with them. Yes, ma'am.
I'm hoping and praying that we can connect with them. If we connect with West Palm Beach, will the water remain the same way, or will they try to put in meters or for each house, or how do you think they'll set that up?
No, so we would keep the infrastructure on our side.
Okay.
The meters that we have currently, we keep those. Obviously, they'll put a meter at the interconnect
Right.
to
And
know
just-
what to charge us, but
Okay.
we'll keep our own infrastructure.
Okay.
And I have no doubt that they're going to try to, in a friendly way, try to leverage this to benefit them somehow, other than a few pennies here and there. But those conversations are going on. I'm optimistic about both sides of it. And even from Riviera Beach, we might have a better proposal to put in front of everyone. So maybe we'll have some options before the summer's out. Any questions on the proposed water and sewer rates? Again, taking industrial, making it a category. Some of these industrial customers are really rough on the system, water and sewer. So that's the rationale that I'll use there. I do want for legal, if council is okay with this, I do want for legal to go back one more time and make sure we're within state statutes and everything's good there. I think the only requirement that we'll be faced with is to do notification and probably a couple of public hearings, which we do automatically anyway. So, any questions?
I had asked this before and I don't remember the answer, so have the businesses been informed of the division from the commercial to the industrial rates and who is gonna be considered industrial?
No, ma'am. I wanted direction from council before I put that out there, because I put that out there, you folks may say, no, we don't want to do that, then we have misinformation out there. Okay.
Other questions on this item?
Yeah, the water base rate,
Mhm.
you're saying 10% across the board?
On the base rate, correct. And again, on the residential side, there is that increase on the base rate, but not on consumption. And on the residential side for sewer, no increase, but bump up on the base rate.
Okay. Other questions or comments?
Seems like it's something that we need to go ahead with. We've talked it over many times. And I appreciate the fact that you're just giving us time to mull over it and decide this is our absolute choice, but I think we must do it.
And I shouldn't say this, but I would expect some pushback anytime you raise rates, but it's necessary when you do the comparison on what we're paying and what we may have to pay for another entity, Riviera Beach or West Palm. I think it's good. And combine that with the needs that we'll talk about here in the budget, I think it's warranted. Okay.
Pardon? Any other questions or comments? And these are the same numbers that we looked at when we had our previous workshop as well then? Alrighty, if there's no other questions or comments, okay.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, thank you. And the other document we'll look at tonight is the spreadsheet that looks at expenditures from the current year, what we've actually spent, what was budgeted, and what we're proposing for the next year. So on the side it says Town of Mangonia Park Utility Fund budget versus actual. I'll just start at the beginning. The very top block, the very top, that's your revenue. And again, your revenue is largely based on what the town is receiving off your utility bill. Obviously, there's some grant money in there. There's some other revenue as well, but the majority of it does come from the utility bills, okay? And if you go straight down, you'll see that the revenue to date, I'm looking at line 18. That is what we've collected. I shouldn't say to date. This is only through May. And you'll hear me throughout the budget process. It'll sound like we're a month behind, and what we do is we give utility billing once we collected a month. Sometimes we have to make credits. Sometimes we have to make other adjustments. So this is through the end of May, that $880,591. What we approved, what town council approved, was $4,802 and $140. The large part of that is the water and sewer project up on Boardman and Lakeshore. So you're not seeing any reimbursement from that yet, and you really haven't seen any expenditure from that yet when we get into the proposed, I'm sorry, that first line, the transfer on line 16, that is the potential for some grant money, and also the $2 million grant money plus your remaining ARPA funds, which is about $400,000. I'll use round numbers, and potential grant funding, okay? The line 17, the state funding for sewer, that's the water and sewer project, and that number is the reimbursable that we'll probably see this fiscal year, and of course, we're showing the other side of that next fiscal year. The water and sewer, we talk about line 6, residential and commercial water revenue, and also line 8, that is your utility billing directly. Okay, we have factored in a modest increase in that. These numbers are somewhat conservative. If you look at the proposed budget on sewer, we're showing that going from 804,000 to 875, and on the line 6, the water consumption, we're staying conservative. If we do increase the rates, we're showing that going from 380,000 to 400,000. And to date, the water revenue and the sewer revenue for this fiscal year is pretty much on target. Like for it to be up just a smidge, but we're pretty much on target. Any questions on the revenue side? And I see the mayor with his calculator, so I'll just say again, this is, the revenue numbers current year are just through May, okay? On the expenditure side, starting on line 19, this is for the water part of the utility budget. All of this, again, is utilities that we're looking at tonight. Contracted services, we're showing that we're spending a little bit more than what we budgeted. So we've spent $40,018 to date. Now the expenditure numbers are as of last Friday, so they are pretty much on target. We budgeted $40,000, so we've spent 100% or just over that. So we're showing an increase to $45,000. Now on that, contracted services, that's a lot of the lab work. That's processing samples. There's a little bit of IT in there because we do have IT involvement with utilities as well. Next line is permits and fees, and that's on target. It's not going to be much more than that at all. So we left that the same at 5,000. Electricity, I don't think we have divvied up the electricity bills as they should be. I think this number is going to be on target. And then repairs and maintenance, line 23, we've spent 29,000. We budgeted 32, so that has been put up a little bit to 35,000. Printing, we left at 1,000. Operating supplies, we budgeted 50,000. That's the middle column. We've spent 63,968. Now I'm going to leave that. I'm going to put that at 60,000, and this is chemicals for the water plant and also parts at the water plant, spare parts that we need to get almost on a daily basis for whatnot. So this has been more than what we budgeted, so we are putting it up to 60,000, and I would feel comfortable with that. We get down to the capital outlay infrastructure. We budgeted $2,500,000. That's part of the water and sewer project, and we've got that also for next year. Not saying that we'll have $5 million in water projects. A lot of this is just going to carry over to next year. Any questions on either the revenue or the water department expenditures so far?
All right, so, just clarification.
Yes, sir.
So when we're looking at line 1 through 18, that's revenue?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then 19 through 31 is expense?
Yes, sir. That's correct. From 19 all the way through the rest of the document is expenditures.
Okay, thanks.
Just wanted to ask clarification. You mentioned on line 16 that transfer account 2,555,000 is grant. What is the nature of that?
Line 16, that is your remaining ARPA funds that would need to be transferred over to the utility side, because that's what they're used for, is utilities. And that's the potential of getting either $1 million from the federal government through our congressperson, or a grant for the ground storage tank. And I'd even say potential for an appropriation from the state, not likely, but that's what the 2 million represents.
So none of that is secured dollars, those are all potential?
The ARPA is secure. We have that in our account right now drawing interest.
Okay. Now, would it be wise to identify the difference in the amounts for the ARPA fund?
The ARPA remaining is about, and I'm guessing at this, is between 400 and 460,000. And I can, when I send out my report this week, I'll give you an exact figure.
Okay.
But it is in the 400s.
So we're basically looking for 2 million and maybe 100,000.
We're looking for a lot of grant money. Yes, ma'am. Now-
400, right?
No, we're
What's
talking about
that?
the US, talking about the US grants funds that we're looking for.
Yeah, I wrote
2
that.
million.
I wrote what he had said about it.
Well,
Let's
that's
see.
the ARPA, that's what we already have secured.
Okay.
But the US funds, we have to,
Oh, yes.
we have to still pray for those,
Much prayer, right.
for the government.
Just an update on that. We did reapply through our congressperson. She's working hard on that. Everyone knows how volatile that budget is right now, so we'll have to wait and see. Also, we have a couple of opportunities through the state to get grant money. We already have the state revolving fund that we had some drainage work done on. We're looking at the possibility of expanding that so we can, get some utility work done. There's also other opportunities through FDEP. So we're going to explore all options on that, but I would say the majority of that 2 million would come in the form of grants if we're successful.
In this exploration, any of the appropriations come through what we had talked about, the partnerships?
You're talking about the P3 partnership. That's not included in here, and I'll be honest, the P3, if council decides to do that, that would be applied mostly to renovations or expansion of the water plant. None of that money is included in here.
Okay.
So if and when council decides to do that, that'll create a whole other entity, budget-wise, and another board that you would sit on. And none of this includes the possibility of a CRA either. None of those, the potential of any of those funds are not included in here.
Okay, so there's still other options that may come through.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Ready? Other questions or comments?
Jumping down to line 32, this is the sewer department. This is the sewer part of it. This current year, what I had recommended was that we put a little bit of money in there in case we needed to, I don't know, go to court with somebody and discuss a contract. We haven't had to do that. I think that $258 that's been taken out of there, I think that's been miscoded, so we'll clean that up. But I would recommend that we keep some litigation money in there. And I'll be completely honest, if we do go to court, 50,000 is probably not going to be our magic number, but at least that gets us a start. Contracted services, line 33. This is pumps, valves, things of that nature for lift stations. We've left that amount the same. We have spent $8,933 out of that. And I anticipate by the time we take items that have been miscoded and code them to the proper line items, that number is going to come up significantly.
There were some figures that were discussed previously. I should have been looking for that before now. For purchasing of certain, I would just say utility supplies that we've been talking over.
Mhm.
For the lift stations, pumps, and all of that. How is that applied in the budget?
So the bigger ticket items, like if you go down to line 39, you'll see that we've spent $61,000. That's the generator that you just purchased. Okay, so the bigger ticket items are going to come out of your capital funds, your capital outlay. When you see line 33 again, that's primarily day-to-day stuff.
Okay.
Pumps, valves, screws, that kind of thing. If you have to call in someone to suck out a manhole, the suction truck or whatnot, those kind of things. That's where that line item comes in.
Okay.
Permits and fees, line 34. That is for the health department. We have an annual permit, and for Palm Beach County himself. So that's what that number represents. And there'll probably be a little bit more added to that before the end of the fiscal year. Electricity, and again, I'm not sure that we have divvied that up properly or not, because the way that it happens now, we're on an automatic payment from FPL. I shouldn't say automatic. We send a payment to them electronically. It's up to us then to go back to the different line items and charge it accordingly. And I'm not positive we have caught up with that on this. But electricity so far in this line item, line 35, 12,000, and we budgeted 17, and that is the request as well. Sewage disposal, we all know what that is and who it goes to. Currently, we've spent $436,000 out of $707,000 that we budgeted. I'm anticipating I'm going to plug in a little increase in there. We'll have more stuff coming online that will be going through the pipes. So 775 is our best guesstimate as of today. 37, repairs and maintenance. We budgeted $43,000 and we have spent $54,000. The budget request, I'm on line 37, is for $110,000, and the reason that we've increased that is for spare pumps for the lift station. Melvin's not here tonight, but I'll convey what he told me earlier this afternoon. We need to have at least 3 pumps for the lift stations on standby, and today we have none. What we have today is in the ground. We have nothing on standby. So that represents the pumps and the regular maintenance. I would say 60,000 of that is for the pumps. Line 38, operating supplies, and again, we're in the sewer area. We haven't spent anything to date. I'm sure that's an error, but we did budget 8,000. It's been miscoded, I'm sure.
Someone would be happy to hear that.
I am sure that's an error. Obviously, we had to get supplies, but we're requesting the same amount. And in your capital outlay, line 39 again, 61,000, that's for the generator just purchased. And we're requesting, well, the budget for this year is 750. That is primarily half of the water and sewer project up on Boardman and Lakeshore. The 875 represents the other half of that, plus a lift station renovation. That would be the Bernie's Pub lift station on 45th Street. That's going to take about just over 100,000, maybe 120. We talked about that last time. Bernie's Pub is the lift station that carries the sewage for Hampton Court. So very important lift station there, and it needs to be updated somewhat. If nothing else, in the electrical, the panel needs to be updated. So, any questions on the proposed sewer expenditures? Now, admittedly, I mean, these numbers will change. I think this is a pretty good snapshot of what we're going to be ultimately proposing, but I'm sure these numbers will change from meeting to meeting until we get it perfect. And I'll jump down to line 42, the utility department. This is the department that carries most of the items that are related to personnel, salaries, benefits, equipment, even like your software contract and those kind of things. That's in the utility. For this current year, we've spent this is on salaries, line 42. We've spent 152,000, might as well say 153,000 out of what we budgeted 205,000. We're doing a little bit of tweaking, and that is going to be at what we project to be 214,000. What we've done in this area, this line item, is we've adjusted, we've taken part-timers out, we've added a full-time position, and of course we have the standard utility director's position that required a little bit more money than we have previously. So 205 was the amount this year. We spent 152. We're recommending that go to 214. And admittedly, these salary numbers are not taking into account right now the idea of any COLA or merit raise or anything like that. This is just what we project in, taking the current salary and adjusting the salaries for the position. Line 43, overtime. We've had quite a bit this year. We've had a lot of stuff come up. We only budgeted 3,700. We've spent close to 20,000, and we anticipate that that would not have to happen again, but we did bump it up to 7,000. Line 44 is the Social Security. That is related to the salaries, of course. Same thing with retirement, health insurance, dental, life insurance, workman's comp, unemployment insurance. Most of those we kept at the same rate as what we budgeted this year. I want everyone to keep in mind, though, that what we budgeted for this time last year, when we were talking about insurance, we budgeted for a 25% increase on all items, and it did not turn out to be that way. So these budgeted for, that's skewed a good bit. Like in the health insurance, line 46, we're not going to spend $87,000 this year because what we got was much less than the 25% that we had budgeted. Same thing on life insurance, workman's comp, etc.
Just a question.
Yes, sir.
Now, last budget year, we actually decided and voted that life insurance was going to be reimbursed by the employee. So did we show that somewhere?
We didn't execute that.
Yeah, yes, yeah, it was voted. Yeah, because remember the conversation was that as opposed to the actual percentage of increase, we could look at that and begin to massage it, because at some point in time in the conversation we've had year after year after year about insurance. But right, and so it should have been implemented. If I stand to be corrected, but I thought for sure that's what we voted.
And I stand to be corrected also, but I don't recall that being voted on to proceed with that. I know we've had the conversations.
It was more than a conversation this past budget year.
We've had a lot of conversations, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
More than that. Okay, well, let's do this as it relates to going forward this year, because my memory serves me maybe not well right now for the very moment, but and not to belabor the point, but I'm almost certain that we did. And if that is true, then I think we don't move into the next budget year doing the same thing again, not being certain about what we're deciding.
Correct.
So again, to pick it back off the table for the budget considerations, that we do bring that back, that and so we can vote it this time for sure. Then it'd be a part of the record.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So this would be necessary for us to take it to a council vote before we go back into budget review, is that right?
Yes, which I thought happened. Again, not to beat it, but which I thought happened.
Yeah, well, since if it didn't happen and I know we've made those considerations, then we need to make sure the vote is in place, so it can budgetarily be adjusted.
Right, and again to again not to belabor it, we looked at how we could be what was the softest landing to begin to start saying, okay, well, there has to be some participation on the part of the employee, and I know we started with this, with the life insurance part of it. So, and if we didn't execute it then, let's execute it now. Since it was our understanding that we did, we'll just codify the understanding this coming budget year.
We'll flush it out. We'll see what actually happened. I'll bring that back. If I'm wrong, I'll stand on that too.
Okay.
It would be the first time in my life I've been wrong, but that would, no, just kidding.
Yes, of course, the first time.
Well, the first time I've been right.
Sir, come on in. You can join us. It's public.
Okay. Go right ahead.
Okay. Any other questions as it relates to the utility department, salaries, insurance? We have kept a lot of the numbers the same. We've bumped up where we see that we're cutting it close or that we've actually gone over budget. And there actually is a little bit on the opposite side.
Is this where we come in at? Before we flip this page? Where we need this inflation rate?
Oh, no, you're on the general fund side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's,
Now, before we flip the page, let's go back to line 51. I know we had a lot going on, but that's an awful lot.
yes. Line 51, I appreciate that. A lot of that 106 should have been charged to last year's budget.
Who did it go to?
And you're saying that the emergency services took place during this year, or they took care, it was
No.
taken care of last year, but just not properly applied?
Line 51, engineering services. There was quite a bit from last fiscal year that was not paid. And now that it has been paid, it reflects in this budget, but that will be an entry that we have to make before the end of the fiscal year. There's probably items from February of 2024 that were not paid all the way through the end of the fiscal year, that once we discovered that, we had to make the payment. When you make the payment, it's going to reflect the current year, but we can go back and adjust that. My apologies, I didn't mean to skim over that, but that's the explanation. The $75,000 that we budgeted, I would simply say that should be pretty consistent for next year.
Seeing how we've had so many emergencies, are we sure that we wouldn't need more to cover more? I mean, we still have the same old water system that has all the bumps and bruises that need so much attention.
Well, on line 51 now, none of that's emergencies. That's
Okay.
engineering only. And we try not to involve the engineer too much on emergencies, except, where we have to get an opinion. But most of that is day-to-day engineering work that's reflected in there. It was just not paid in a timely manner. Your emergency stuff is reflected in either the water department budget or the sewer department budget.
Okay.
The utility budget, starting at line 42, that's your personnel cost, your consultants' fees, professional services, that kind of thing.
So then these are mostly standard items that we just have to properly budget for,
Correct.
whatever change we anticipate.
Okay, other
Okay.
questions or comments?
On this side, no.
Okay, we can go through it all then. So we have, the backside is all inclusive of the conversation we just had, but if there's any questions, now they're looking at the backside of it, which is, and those numbers, of course, as Ken stated, the town manager stated, is all inclusive in the utility that we were discussing, but if there's any questions now that you're looking at the back part of it, any questions or comments? If not, okay. All
No,
right,
it's
and so
a
going
lot to
moving
take
forward,
in.
so, of course, this is not the final budget, but just where we are right now. If all this holds true, then we're not looking at anything for a contingency, or we're not going to have to. Our revenues are going to exceed our expenses, so we don't have to go into our contingencies. That's what we're looking at.
What we have in the revenue side, Mr. Mayor, is
Mhm.
$85,000 in contingency. Now, you notice this current year, we budgeted
That's in the
$84,000
general?
on the revenue. But
Okay,
we
so you have
haven't,
it showing in the
we
general.
haven't had to touch any of that, so.
Okay. Okay. Okay, right, other questions or comments?
I'll wait till next one. I'll wait till the next one.
You have a question or comment? Go right ahead.
Wait till next meeting. We're gonna do this again.
Okay. Righty, so as much as we can flush out, we flush out it. That way, we can start codifying things at the next meeting. If there's any other questions or comments, things that need to be
This is not
addressed.
final, so right?
Mhm.
So, we'll wait.
Okay.
So again?
Well, there were some indicated adjustments that need to be made, so.
Right.
Yes.
When we see those adjustments, maybe we won't have a question, but right now we're just seeing the overview of what you're presenting.
Okay. Righty, so Ken, you have the floor. Any?
Oh, honestly, Mr. Mayor, that's all that I have. If there's any questions, I would like, I guess, a little bit of homework is everyone to look at the rate system, the tier system, and certainly if you have any questions, call me, or if not, we're gonna proceed as if that's the direction.
I do see one thing I wanted to ask about line 53. Utility, it says,
Yes, ma'am.
litigation attorney fees. There's nothing indicated even as a proposed budget for it.
So these are, sometimes you have line items that have had that title for years. What I do, if we have litigation potential, I'm putting it where it is most likely to be assigned, like in the line 32 under the sewer department. That's probably most likely where we would have to apply litigation dollars. Under the utility department, we didn't budget anything this current year, and so moving forward, certainly the desire of council, I can put money in there or move money around to accommodate that, certainly.
Righty. So, the clarification, now, so the sewer department would be a part of the utility department.
Right.
Sewer would be part of utilities. So that being considered, then perhaps we actually place it under utility as opposed.
Certainly can. Now, when it says utility,
Mm-hmm.
again, that's a label that has been there for years. All of this is the utility budget.
Mhm.
When it says utility department, that's primarily dealing with the personnel side of things. But
Administrative functions.
not to split hairs on you or anything. We can, wherever council wants to see money put, we can do that. If we want to take line 32, cross that out and put it on line 53, certainly, that's no issue.
Or so that the budget is as clear as possible. If we're gonna leave it there, where it was last year, and we're proposing to be putting it this year, then we just delete the line, what is it, 53?
Mhm.
Because it is, because if you look at the budget, if you're not a part of the workshops and of course the meetings that we're part of, and if you're a member of public, you want to pick up our budget, which of course is a public document.
Right.
One would ask a question, oh, so you forgot to put something there, or what's the inference there?
Mhm.
Would be the question, if it's there, so. Yeah, so sometimes you go through and you have to clean it up and delete, add.
Oh, absolutely. Right.
Okay.
Now, and also, I guess, line 56 about travel. I don't see travel in any other budget line, so there's nothing on this budget
So,
for travel.
yes, ma'am. Line 29, education, training, and travel. It's kind of all grouped into that. And again, we can separate it out, put it wherever. And I suppose since that's a personnel type item, we could move it down.
Okay.
I would think it should be under the personnel administrative area that we're talking about.
Those are like 22, you got a line item, you got an account,
Mhm.
but you have nothing.
Let's see.
Well, there's no itemized category for that.
Not sure what that used to be, but it's not, whatever it was, I don't believe it's part of the current budget. Whatever it was, I'll figure out what it was.
Mhm. Okay, and if not, we can just delete that line and
Yeah.
the numbers should fall in.
Then we readjust the numbers with it?
Mhm. Yeah, if it's Is this-
Sometimes we have to add some. So, that'd be a good place to add.
That's a good placeholder, right?
Okay.
Okay, then,
Just a placeholder.
yeah, although these columns are numerical, more than likely, so when you actually use the formula, it calculates numbers as opposed to alpha.
Right.
Something, I guess, something to denote, you know, to be determined, or
Sure,
whatever the case may
absolutely.
be, if indeed that is possible. Perhaps in the line, in the alpha category, right after it.
So if you delete 22, then does that move all these other ones up?
It depends if we have a wrapped formula, it would, but we can actually just put something there. We don't have to use the language right now, but something that has to be determined.
announced.
Right, to be
TBA,
announced, something
yeah.
like that, so that we reserve a line, so that if indeed we were to come up with something like we did with the senior program, then we, of course, would have a line.
That's right.
There to add. You've seen in documents where it has a page reserved for some, you know, have a blank page.
Or miscellaneous.
Okay.
Or we can put reserved, or whatever the
Right.
case is, okay.
Miscellaneous.
Yeah, we have miscellaneous.
One other question, we do have a category with no line item, it's bonus. Under 42, before 43.
Between 42 and 43?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's just something the attorney wants, and the auditor want us just to take out altogether, so that should be deleted in its entirety.
Okay, well, I just wanted to say, I was glad that we did employee recognition last council meeting. Is there a bonus that will be equated to that, or?
A Publix gift card would have been nice.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't closed the door on that. I think the mayor and I did discuss a gift card,
Yeah.
you know.
So then that would require a budget item.
So we could say employee recognition.
Let me, right, from an administrative standpoint, you get in trouble when you do that. So Ken and I, as he was alluding to, discussed just doing a gift card, right? That could just be contributions from the council, from the town manager, or something like that, from the kitty. We all want to just throw something in the kitty, but when you start budgeting bonuses, employee of the month and all of that.
Would that be
well,
considered a bonus, for the employee of the quarter? Cause that's 25 times, or 20 times. It's just like giving them lunch, per se.
We don't pay for lunch.
Well, okay.
Right, and I
Let me
understand what you're
rephrase
saying.
it,
No, I understand what
rephrase
you're
it.
saying, but I'm just saying, right, in that example, and
Okay.
for every example, it'll be that kind of response. That's why I did it, so, yeah, 'cause it's, how do you justify, you know, yeah. And it's always a little different, when it's a governmental entity, that you're thinking
It
about
is.
doing these things for, as opposed to a private corporation. Yeah, and there's administrative rules in place when it comes to
What
government.
does others do
so.
for their employees of the month or employees of the quarter?
A
Cause you have
plaque.
to understand, nowadays it's a competition and they face burnout, and what better way to,
Give 'em
it's just like you
incentives.
want them to come to the meeting, you feed them, right?
Yeah,
They're
give 'em-
they're
that's
gonna
right.
come.
A certificate, a plaque.
Incentive, some type of incentive.
Oh, I'm
something
glad you
tangible, but
mentioned that.
not-
I'll wait
not
for y'all to
financial.
finish that part before I get to that other part.
Yeah. And you can budget something for something tangible, you know, that you want to give, you know, a plaque or something like that, or certificates. When you're talking about something that has monetary value, then
Right.
at that point in time, you have to calculate the actual cost of it and consider that part of the financial expense of the town. It's a tricky one, is all I'm saying.
That was gonna be my suggestion then. Couldn't we purchase cause we used to use, the plate medallion.
Mhm.
Couldn't we do them by the bulk, where you're purchasing them for the year, where you get a discounted rate, or you do the frames? So what I do for my, daycare is I get the frames from the dollar store, the nice ones, of course, but I buy them by the bulk. So you know, around Christmas times when they come with the really pretty ones, of course, you gotta make it look expensive but cheap. But then you get them by the box, and I buy 24, Shorty's laughing. And it just looks more presentable in a cardstock paper instead of a simple, 8x11, and then with Medallion and myself, she gave me like a really cool discount, and I think you guys will get a better discount because you're a bigger entity and it's nonprofit. And then, I think I do, the little stars and the little hearts 2 times a year, because I do it for my father's, my mother's, and then I do it like as a recognition at the end of the year. And you'll be surprised how that really enlightens them. And they don't know that the frames came from the dollar store, or I paid $7 for the little star.
I didn't know.
Good suggestion. I think if we, whatever council decides on, in whatever form, going back to that line item, just put something either in the utility budget or the general fund budget indicating employee recognition. And it would be a modest amount, whatever it is. I mean, whatever it turned out to be.
Okay, I just opened a bowl of ball of worms or bees or whatever, but just was wondering, should we be identifying something in that category? That's all. I think it's good.
I'm trying to think maybe operating supplies with one of the already established line items. Miscellaneous.
So we already have miscellaneous.
Yeah, we got $100 budgeted in miscellaneous under utility department.
Well,
Water
actually, so it's
department.
already, it's the money already budgeted.
Water
It's
department
500.
miscellaneous, it says 2928.
No, go to 69, I'm sorry, 70 on the other.
Oh, you mean that?
970.
At the end of the
So we already have
administrative
miscellaneous.
fund? Okay. yeah.
Okay, sure.
Okay, it can come under there for sure. At one time, we were giving those, what do they call those, hockey pucks that have the town emblem on it?
Yeah, we had a developer, potential developer, give those to us a few years back. I still have one. You know. But, I mean, we could come up with some service pins or, you know, something like that as well.
And certainly can do those things, and you want to reward the employees, but again, you don't want to have auditors coming. What are you doing?
No, we
Yeah.
don't have to be, it doesn't have to be breaking the bank items, but just a little fluff on the side.
Yeah.
Maybe even half a day off or something like that. You know.
That sounds very
Well, the state gives you a pickle, medal, the pickle award.
I'll take a Friday so I can get an extended
And
weekend.
it's about this big, little pickle award. So
Yeah.
I guess just recognition, I guess. Alrighty. Okay. Anything else, Ken?
I have nothing else. I don't know if
Any
you
comments
have
or
questions
from
or.
council?
Can't y'all wait till the next budget?
Okay.
Good evening.
Alrighty, this is a public budget workshop, so we'll see if there's anything from the public, any comments from the public as it relates to the budget.
Well, but public dinners, we just come inside here, we never hear when you begin, it's not even good to enter into the middle.
Oh, okay.
So, but I couldn't hear what that lady saying, because the mic is above her head talking, and we were here.
Oh.
I could hear you, I could hear the next lady over there, hear this gentleman, I couldn't hear her, she just.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
even talking really. You
Not
get,
you, not
yeah.
you.
Me.
Oh.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you what you're saying.
When I was asking about the budget line item, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's cool, I guess y'all doing a good job, I see you working over there. But it's only one thing I have to say, from I come here, 79, 89, 90, live over there. The place name is Miramar, and I be asking every time I come here for a sign
Bryn
to
Mawr.
say
It's
our
It's
community
coming.
over
It's
there.
coming.
And
It's
I
coming.
don't mean
The storage place is
I
gonna
need
do
a
that.
sign.
Sign, it's coming.
It's
We haven't
coming.
talked
Yeah,
about it.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
for.
It's coming.
Yeah.
That's for the
Bryn
building?
Mawr will be there.
Yes,
It's
sir.
coming.
Wait, let's make sure that we understand. That's for the building, he's referring to, the building that's
No,
being
it's-
built?
Mm-mm.
No,
On the
he's-
side of the road.
He's
Oh,
talking
a
about
neighborhood,
Sign.
neighborhood
Neighborhood.
sign, okay,
They,
okay.
the storage
says,
place
"Welcome to Bryn
offered
Mawr."
up to
Yes.
do
I
our
don't- yeah.
digital sign
Yes.
and a Bryn Mawr sign.
Yes, we talked about that.
I don't recall talking.
Yes, we did. Yep, you're getting young.
Okay,
That's
no,
another
no,
plan.
just keep in mind too that there's four sections, if you will, official acknowledged sections of the town, right? And so do we now go putting sort of landmarks for each of those areas?
Yes.
To be honest with you, in some cities, they see it as being offensive, right? Because the legislative body will talk, and this is not any city in particular, so don't right? They would have, for instance, I'm trying to think of that one where they would have something, and then the residents of the community find it to be offensive because it has a sort of a history with some things that, and I'm trying to speak and not be offensive on there were some, in a lot of cities, let me just say it this way, in some cities here in Palm Beach County, when the legislative bodies of certain cities began to put land, like Poinciana estates, right, and that was one of those things, like estates, right. So can I just say it how I should say it, if I were not in the mic, right, in the hood. And so they started calling things estates, and they're not estates at all. And the communities were offended with those kind of things. Now, we can say that, well, Bryn Mawr is not Bryn Mawr Estates, right, so it doesn't carry that same connotation, but at the same time, when you start designating one area, conversation has to happen that you designate a landmark for every area, right? So it can't be just that it happens in one section and so
Right.
forth. So that conversation, I don't think ever happened. So. But I'm not speaking for or against. I'm not speaking for or against. Just putting information out. So.
Yes, sir, but if a lady has some babies, listen,
Mhm.
and one named John, and one named Tom, and the other named Jones, that doesn't mean the baby doesn't belong to the lady. There's only 3 different names. So I live in Bryan Mar.
Yeah.
Bryn Mawr.
Yes.
I didn't say estate or that, I'm not giving it no surname.
Right.
They
Just
just named Bryan Mar.
Right.
Right, and in your analogy, they all had names, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
That right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, I know this is not the meeting for this, but, and I'm glad you did bring it up. I thought we had discussed that, maybe I'm getting young, that that the storage people would put that sign up saying Bryn Mawr, not calling it an estate. I think we did have this conversation, not calling it an estate, but just the name of the area, Bryn Mawr. That they promised that they would put that sign up.
What? I'm sorry. I'll let you finish.
Unless I'm the only one who heard that, I think I'm not the only one. I think they had said about putting the sign up, because we talked about putting the sign up. And even, I think every area in this town should have a sign. You don't have to say estates, because just like here, it's been Tiffany Lakes, it's something else. You can identify the area. That's the whole purpose of it, just to identify the area. Because the Hill section should have their name up. Every area should have that way people can identify where they're going. Because right now, if people try to find Boardman, you gotta almost just tell them, like, oh, turn this way, that way, if they're not using a GPS. It's not identified where you can ride by and say, oh, that's Bryn Mawr right there. I thought we had discussed that, but if you say we didn't, but I'm almost positive we talked about a sign with storage people.
Okay. Now, the conversation I do remember having is that we talked about an electronic marquee,
That's
right,
on the
that would
other side.
advertise meetings and everything else. But as well as there, of course, there's as well that we would be renting for $1. I think it was a year or something like that, because we have to pay something for them to advertise our meetings and different functions and so forth that was taking place in the town. But I don't remember conversations about neighborhood landmarks that they were going to be doing.
Do anybody on the dais remember that conversation? Hello, somebody open your mouth, like,
I remember
I
there was
remember that.
conversation, but I don't remember a consensus being drawn.
anybody else? Or it's just me? You don't remember either, Kalisha?
Just do a records request.
No, we don't need to do that.
No, we can check their
Yes.
final site plan
Because we
approval.
can
To
always
make it
decide.
easier.
So we can
Yeah,
always
but did you
decide
remember the
date,
conversation?
so.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a conversation, but I don't remember a consensus being drawn. That we would definitely
I don't know where
do
it
He said he
ended
was
up.
gonna put a sign, other than the
Thank you.
neon one that has the advertisement, he was gonna put one on the side that says Welcome to Bryn Mawr.
Thank you.
Okay. And again, I'm not 100% right all the time. I'm just saying from I don't remember that part of the conversation is all I'm saying.
See,
Not saying
you're
it did or
young,
didn't
you're
happen, I'm
getting
just
young.
saying I don't remember it.
I'm kind of with the vice mayor. It was proposed.
Yes.
They
Okay.
talked about it. I don't know
In
where
an
it
open
e-
meeting or, because I'm.
Yeah, right here.
No, here, Lisa was the
I
one that
brought it
was,
up.
persistent on it, and then when he came back to the next meeting,
talked
Yeah.
about. I don't know
Yeah.
that it reached a consensus
Right,
or
that's
not, but
Yes, it did.
talked about somewhere. Now, the electronic sign, I know for a fact we held them to that.
Mhm.
That I do
Yeah,
know.
that was yeah.
And I think that's supposed to be put on the other end,
Mm.
correct? Is that electronic sign, like when you first enter.
That's so, coming both ways, you can
Right.
see it.
Right.
Right. And it advertises, council meetings and our events at the park and stuff like that.
So we'll put that on, or can we put that on, since everybody don't remember, that we can have a discussion, because I think every area, everywhere I go, people have signs that identify what area, neighborhood you're pulling up in.
We can, as part of our general fund discussions, we can have neighborhood signs put on there for discussion.
Okay, certainly. But just, and I don't think we're gonna do, and I'll just kind of put them out there, I don't think we're gonna do what Boynton and Delray and black neighborhoods, when they put those up, they knocked them down. Stone
What-
monkeys.
yeah,
I'm
we
saying,
don't-
I'm sure we
yeah.
won't do that, but I'm just saying it, for, just my reference point has been, they're great, right? I don't know, Olympia and everywhere else, welcome to, and all that, but when they start doing that in the black communities, it was offensive, and because everything was an estate, Carver Estates,
Yeah,
this
that was
estate, and it had a cover, a
And that
negative
was-
connotation.
I wanna say that was their mistake.
Yeah, we're not doing the states, cause it's
We don't-
Brent
yeah, we
Mawr
don't
not a
have to do the
state.
state.
Just put the
No,
name.
no, I'm just saying, in terms of marquees. so.
You could, get the feeling that, you know, they don't really wanna be part of Mangonia Park. They want, you know, they want the sign saying, this is Bryn Mawr,
In Mangonia Park.
not Mangonia Park.
mhm.
So if you wanted to do that, you'd have to put Mangonia Park in there somewhere. You know, Mangonia Park or Bryn Mawr in
Not the
Mangonia
subdivisions,
Park.
not like the
Okay.
subdivisions, Hilltop, Bryn Mawr.
Yeah, that's it's like you know, a lot of people take it as, oh, they don't wanna belong to Mangonia Park no more.
Okay, I
They want
understand.
their own
Their own
name for their
identity.
neighborhood.
I don't think so.
Okay, so what we can do, and because we do have the public here, we can take their comments, but then we'll come back to the budget part of it, so, okay, yes, sir.
As I was driving, like up in Riviera Beach,
Mhm.
and many other neighborhoods,
Mhm.
like up in Riviera Beach, if I'm
Mhm.
correct, I think they have a place up there named Monroe High.
Mhm.
And then they got another place of another
Federal
name.
Gardens.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you call it the town, the city, a section, I would say,
Mhm.
that named the name.
Mhm.
And that is all. So, if some people come in to see me, or ask me where I live,
Just said
I
that.
live Bryan Mawr.
Mhm.
Where? In Mangonia Park. How do I find it? You come on the 5 Street,
Yep,
whatever.
just said that.
It's there on your left
Mhm.
before the police station.
Mhm.
You look, you see the sign. That's where the man talking about there.
Mhm.
And it's just simple as.
I just, Vice Mayor has something, or could?
Well, you know, that's a state of ownership. Some people take a lot of pride in that. Not everyone does. But Mangonia Park is 1 mile square, and we need to make sure people know where Mangonia Park is, for sure.
Y'all need to make bigger
But,
signs.
but I just, 1 mile square, to me, is just, is not as necessary. It is in larger communities that have many streets, many miles of residents that need to identify separate sections. Also, Mangonia Park Council, we all serve all of the town, not just one section. Some of the other cities, they're elected to serve only in a section of the town. They don't cover the whole town or the whole city. Like Mangonia Park, we serve the entire population in Mangonia Park. So to me, it's not as relevant as those who council serves to cover
Districts.
Monroe Heights section, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
We are so far behind time, it's just pitiful. I'm sorry. We do need those signs, and if we were 1 mile or 50 miles, those signs should have been there many moons ago, before any of us got on this dais. Those signs are needed, and I think it's only right, and it looks nice, and when you go to any area of Riviera Beach we'll use, for example, you can, whether it's bigger or smaller, you can identify what area you're in. I don't think it's gonna be personal to anybody, because everybody over there been asking for that sign. And I don't think it should be made such a big deal, it just need to be put up. It is needed.
Right.
And the hill section needs its own sign,
Mhm.
everybody need their own sign, we know this Magnolia Park. So what y'all need to do is take those little small signs that is interest, if this interest, and y'all need to push those down and put some larger signs up and let you know that you're in Magnolia Park. And then put the smaller signs to identify where we're located. Oh, I live in Brent Mawr, like he said, and I agree. And I live in the hill section, and I live, unless people just don't want to
Yeah.
let people know where they live, I don't know what's the big deal behind it.
Right. And I'll say this in less than a minute. Again, I'm just speaking from a historical standpoint. If we need to be pulled forward into the future, that's great. But understand the history, right? That when you do that, and when you go down to the county and they look at your different plats, everything is platted, it
Yeah.
will show in this subdivision, it will show in
Right.
this subdivision. And what it actually did, it led to redlining. Right, because now, and here in Mangonia Park, right, and I say this with no offense at all, McConnell can kind of step in, right, let's just say that if we could teleport ourselves back in time to 1960, 1965, and then a sign goes up over there, Bryn Mawr section, right, then a sign goes up where, Mangonia Hills, and signs, what would you have said if you lived here in 1960 and you saw that sign over there?
I can't say I wasn't here. I was born
They
a
had
baby.
chickens and
I can't
Correct.
say-
And you would not have been, and you would
Dirt
not have been
road.
over there.
Yeah, no, so I
Yeah.
know that.
So
We
I'm
know
just
that.
saying the history of it was that it was
Right.
a segregationist type of a thing that
Right.
cities did. Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just speaking from a historical purpose. And so when you have that reference point, you still remember that, and it's like, big old Mangonia Park, welcome to Mangonia Park, right? You're leaving Mangonia Park, welcome, it says that you're in Mangonia Park, right? And so when we did, now from a historical standpoint, when we got those signs, and they were actually free, right? We were able to negotiate and got those for free, right? Now keep in mind our budget at the point that we got those for free is probably half of what it is right now, right? And so it was sort of a gift from a sign company. You remember that when Lee was here? So we got those, and so we're able to finally start, like you said, start coming up to the age that we live in. Right? And so progress is a slow and gradual process sometimes. One sociologist said that a fast gradual change, right, disrupts society. Right, and so I'm not opposed to progress taking place today, in 2 minutes. Not me, but sometimes it disrupts society and so forth. And I'm I'm speaking generally, not about the signs, okay? But that the history of the signs, you know, in Palm Beach County and other places was, yeah, we
Yes.
wanted to denote that we're here and they are there.
Right, so maybe you change the name of the area, I guess, at this point, like they
No.
did, I'm just being facetious,
Uh-huh.
but like they did, Old Dixie Highway, they made it Old Palmer Highway.
Mhm.
Yes, I know what you're talking about, that history, but if that history, if Brent Mawr's offensive, then maybe you change the name. But
And I mean,
at the end of the day.
it's not now, I'm just saying
I'm
from a
just-
historical
yeah.
standpoint, yeah. It would have been if you had lived there, if you had lived in Mangonia Park in 1960. Am I
Right.
correct or not?
Right, I know what you're saying, I used to
Correct.
ride through when I
Mhm.
was older, enough to ride through, so you're saying that that's not a good idea, basically?
I just gave some history and to be decided, you know, by council, you know, whether or not, you know, we should do it or need to do it, or, yeah. So I haven't taken a position, just sharing information. Okay. Alrighty, so, no, so it's not alive or dead, we're just sharing information at this point in time.
Yeah, but
Okay.
as the time goes by, in life, sir,
Mhm.
changes come.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
Mhm.
and we all must be open and accept changes,
Mhm.
because it's coming, it's not going back.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely.
So,
Mhm.
what was gone in that time, that was that time, this is this time.
Mhm.
So we talking Brian Marr, a sign in Mangonia Park.
Mhm.
And that just if that is a big deal, then it's a big deal, because people need to identify where they're going.
Mhm.
And I think that is appropriate for the the city.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not averse to signage. Just again, in 20 seconds, we fought legislatively with our, not with him, but alongside our consultant. Not our consultant, our
Lobbyist.
lobbyist,
Mhm.
right? Because remember, on 95, there was no designation about Mangonia Park at all. Now, Mangonia Park, next exit, kind of a thing. And so signage is great, right? And we fight for signage and everything else, and absolutely, right? And then the entry points into the town. Welcome to Mangonia Park. So yeah, I agree. Signage is great.
Yes,
Right,
I
yeah.
saw that sign there.
Yes, so we talk it through and just kind of make sure that whatever decision we make here, right, is the best decision for the town itself, so absolutely, so we'll have those conversations, yes, absolutely.
So I guess the takeaway for me on this is when we discuss the general fund budget, this will be part of that conversation.
Yeah, it could, absolutely, you know, right,
That would be the appropriate place for it. yes.
Right, because at that point in time, we need to know what the cost. Riviera Beach
Correct.
has already done all of, how much does it cost to erect one? Will it be lit or unlidded? And if so, how much for each? Where are we gonna put them? Who's gonna construct them? So there's cost associated and so forth, and upkeep, and so all of that has to be considered, you know, in terms of what we can anticipate would be the expense, you know, each year for the budget.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, okay, anything?
And I think when we do that, we say that we have subsections in Mangonia Park, but do we have labels for every subsection?
We should.
Do we have?
There's- I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do we have? I mean, you say should, but do we? Because if we do for one, we should do for all.
That's right, I agree.
That's my point.
Well, I know that, in terms of just platted, and, you know, when you go and you look at the plats in the county, there is the hills, something they call it. Then there's Bryn Mawr, that I don't, help me out, is there other
California.
specific designations?
Old Town, but I don't know that that's
Right.
a designation or
Well, I
not.
mean,
but-
it always went, you know, over where it's all industrial, mostly industrial.
Mhm.
That was Old Town.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Bryn Mawr, you had the Hill section.
Mhm.
Then Tiffany came,
It's now
you know,
Castleton.
and now Enclave.
Right, just in terms of, because again, quadrants, I know the town was sort of broken up into these quadrants, if you will, and
Right.
there was some designation or non-designation, so, okay, but we can pick that up and.
Sure.
Once we
Yeah.
get some figures and all of that, and.
When we moved here in 1956, there was only Old Town.
Mm.
There was nothing. There
Sure,
was
you go
nothing
way
here.
back.
We dove hunted.
Mhm.
I went with my big brother dove hunting right here where we're sitting.
I wasn't born
And-
then, but I.
And then we had only 2-lane streets.
Over where the Enclave and all that, we hunted back
Australia.
there.
Couldn't even fit a car.
Yeah.
Wow, what a change it has.
Oh, yeah, one-way street, one lane each way, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, true, okay, so anything
We
that.
didn't even have a red light.
No?
Wow.
No red light.
Yeah.
Well, thank God for change.
Had a lot of blue lights
Oh.
attached
Oh,
to
yeah.
cars.
Oh, yeah. And
Yeah,
my
we
first
had- we
ticket
had
was in
blue lights.
Magnolia
Yeah, we had a
Park.
lot of blue lights.
My
Yeah.
first
We
was
had,
going to
Yeah.
Daytona Beach.
Okay.
We had town marshals.
Uh-huh, they had,
Mhm.
had some blue lights, yeah, they come
And
and
you
get
know
you.
what I liked? No one used to drive on 45th Street. They'd rather go all the way up north and go around and come back down instead of coming across.
We-
It was
yeah.
crazy. The minute you get pulled over for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in
Pull
the
over for
day.
driving slow, driving fast. Even when you're
When-
doing it the right way, you're still getting pulled over.
Yeah.
When we got in trouble in West Palm Beach, we ran from Mangonia Park.
Mhm.
And when we come down Foster Road, which is closed now, come down off 45th Street, the marshal would be there,
Mm-hmm.
stop the West Palm Beach, that's it. This is Mangonia Park, you don't, got no authority in here.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it was something else. Yeah, we take Dixie, going to
All the
go
way
around it.
around.
It's amazing. So change does happen. Yeah, we literally coming from Boynton to visit my relatives at Riviera Beach back in the '60s and so forth. We'd go down Federal. We'd just avoid Mangonia Park, and yeah, and now change happens. Absolutely. Okay. Alrighty. So with that, anything else related to the budget?
Did we budget for the grass in the media to finish that grass? Cause I be riding by it every day saying, I wish they'd finish this grass.
So we did a couple of sections on Australia, and we'll pick this back up.
Please.
On the 45th.
The media is looking good.
I could-
If we could just finish it.
I may need to speak, well, I've started, or I've sort of breached it, so I may as well. Just in looking at the expense, it appears as if we paid more for the labor than we did for the grass. Right,
Absolutely.
so, yeah, the guys can throw that grass down. If not, me and McConnell will come out and throw it
Well,
down.
We can talk more. The
Yeah,
only,
offline,
the
so.
only thing that I was looking at as far as us versus them is the liability. That was strictly it.
Okay, we can talk offline, but,
No,
yeah.
I think at this point, volunteers like we normally do.
Well, that's even more liability.
Yeah.
So,
It is?
Put the
Now,
cone in.
McConnell,
Yeah.
I'm gonna come out, that was just
Okay.
a jest, so.
I put my gloves on.
Put
I
the-
got my gloves.
Yeah.
Put your
I'll
orange
join you.
cones out.
Yeah.
Put the orange cones
Yeah,
out like
no, the
a
liability
man.
issue is, okay.
Why it's being
Well,
done.
So,
If you,
but we have done 2 sections.
Yeah, you done.
I mean, if
Yeah,
you're
we
gonna-
just need to finish. This looking so good. I'm like, why they just don't finish it?
We'll keep it going.
you know, if it wasn't for volunteers, this town wouldn't even be here.
Mhm.
Wouldn't even be here.
Mhm.
I mean, everything was done for free. Everybody get together and have a
That was
big
one of them.
barbecue or whatever, and did the work.
I was one of the town's volunteers for months.
Mhm.
So, Ken, so what do West Palm Beach do? Because when they're building the parks and stuff, they use volunteers. Like I'm doing their back to school thing that they're doing, and it's all volunteers that they use. They're gonna do like a park cleanup. They're redoing the park swings and stuff, and it's gonna be all volunteers. Would they have a special insurance or something?
No, so when I said liability, I was speaking specifically to Australian or 45th Street
Mhm.
and the busyness of that and using volunteers. Because a lot of times volunteers want to bring children with them
Oh no.
and on.
You wouldn't be one
you
of
know,
those.
So
Okay.
that's what I was speaking to. I have been involved with a project 100 years ago that the community built the park, or built the playground, I should say. So they have that.
Good.
It takes a lot of coordination, a lot of fundraising, but I've seen it happen.
Okay.
All right.
We got
So
too
anything
many
else?
lawyers.
Mhm. Yeah.
They're always thinking about ways to ruin everything.
Mhm.
Oh, we're gonna sue you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, back,
Okay, Andy? Mhm.
back years ago, I mean, if that would've been the case, everything would've just
Mhm.
been frozen.
Everybody's
Okay.
got dollar signs
Oh,
in their
well.
eyes, yeah.
Absolutely. So anything else related to the budget?
No.
No.
If not,
We'll talk about it.
anything else, Ken?
No, sir.
Okay,
Great
if not-
conversation.
Okay, appreciate it. If not, motion for adjournment?
So
I
moved.
so move.
So second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Pose same sign. It is carried. And thanks so much. We
See y'all
appreciate
later.
our neighbors coming over and, yes. Okay. Alrighty. You guys have a great evening and, I gotta get ready for tomorrow.
What you got in that?